Welcome CSC103 to exercise 5B. It's kind of an in-between exercise. If you go to coursework, you'll see something that looks like this, ex5b pixel coding intro to computing.org. And you might see something like this. This is the finished product that you're going to want to create. You're going to write some code that'll color these 4 pixels of this kind of low resolution image that only has like 10 pixels across and 10 pixels down. If you go to here, let me just point something out here. You might not know what to do here. You'll just see run and you'll look at this stuff and you'll think, I don't know what to do here. There's the thing, but how do I change that? Now, one thing you might want to do other than going to that link, that's where the actual exercises are. But if you go to your bookmarks, and that would be under documents and resources, bookmarks. And if you go to your bookmarks for resources and go to intro to computing.org, if you click on here, you'll see this kind of old school looking web page. And if you click on the exercises here, actually before you do that, go to the browser test page and hit run. And if it doesn't work right away, hit run again. And this is a sample, and if you see this baby here with this green stripe up top, it means your page is working. And you can see some of the code here that'll help you out, because this is all you're going to do. This stuff right here is all the code you're going to write, is stuff like this. And you're basically going to set red pixels to a color, green pixels to a color, and blue pixels to a color. If they're black, you only have to set one, because they'll already be down to 0. And you can see what this did here. It set green to 255 and it set the other two to 0, which means that would be straight RGB green. And it actually did it. We're not going to have to do a for loop like they did up here, but it's actually doing the first pixels going down, the first 20 pixels going down, Y pixels. That's why it's doing that across. So anyway, when you do that, the reason I'm telling you to do that is then if you go back, it should, when you go to image 2 code exercises, that's what we're going to do down here, it should show you these things with these green boxes around. And that'll help you it'll give you a hint of how the code is going to be used. And go to the one that says set red example. And if you go here, you can see what it does. It sets that pixel to red. And here's the code, pixel.setRed. And I could just run down a couple lines of code here, but it shows a new image, xping. It zooms it at 20%. You can make it bigger to make this thing look bigger, or on your keyboard, if you do Control+, you go a little bit bigger. I'll do that so the code's a little bit bigger right now. And now what it's doing is this thing here, pixel, is a variable. That's not something it's actually choosing. It is choosing a pixel, but it's naming which pixel it chooses, pixel. And for really, it should be something like this, pixul, because it's the upper left pixel. And if I go here, I also have to make this pixul. And that means that I'm selecting the upper left pixel. I'm saying image get pixel, and because the image is basically xping. Here's another variable, image equals to xping, and now I'm saying, okay, get the pixel of the image, the upper left pixel. I'm getting it 0, 0, which happens to be this one, because there's 10 pixels across and 10 pixels down, but they start at 0. So there's actually pixel 0, 1, 2 through 9, and there's pixel going down on the y-axis. There's actually pixel 0 through 9 going down on the y-axis. They start here at 0, 0. So that's what it's doing right now. So you can see what it's doing. So just for example, if you wanted to make the upper right one red, what you could do is you could copy this code, except you might just think, oh, I'll just copy and paste that code. If you do it, it's going to look exactly the same. That's because you're using the same variable name and you're also setting the same pixel here. So let's set a new variable and call it upper right. And we'll call these both upper right, and then instead of 0, 0, the way this works is it goes x, y. So x would be 9, and then y would be 0 if we're going across, because x always comes first. So if we made this one 9, and we did the same thing, we set the red to 255, we put the red all the way up. Now keep in mind, if these are black, it means they're all down to 0, so we only have to set the red up, because all the other ones are 0 right now. And that'll make a difference when you go to change these, because they'll all be at 255. But anyway, let me just run this and make sure that works. So if you could do that, you could obviously see that we can make one for the lower right and the lower left and do the same thing and just change the pixel number. This one down here would be 9, 9, and this one down here would be 0, 9. So we'd have all 4 coordinates going around and making those red. And you'd just be copying that code each time, and you'd be changing these variables each time. Okay, so we know how to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back here for our assignment and do this. And you can see we have a red, a yellow, a blue, and a gray. And you should know a little bit about your RGB when you do that, because you know, red is easy and blue is easy, but yellow is a combination of red and green. And gray means they all have to be the same. And if it's a lighter gray, it means it's closer to the 255 number. So just remember that, your little hint. So going back to this code here, working on this one, I'll get rid of this second one here. I'll still call them upper left, because even though I'm going to use these inner ones here, I'll call them upper left, upper right, lower left. I'll still kind of use those same names in here, even though I'm not using the corners, but I don't have to, they're the only 4 pixels we're going to work with, so I'll do that first. Let me just try one, and instead of pixel 0, 0, this is actually going to be pixel, and let's just kind of count down here, 1, this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 4 down, that's actually the Y, and then across it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 4 across and 4 down. Should be, if I have it right here. And if we go to set it to red, if we just try that, nothing's going to happen. See, nothing's going to happen because they are all, because it's a white pixel. That means they're all 255. That means red is already 255. So we don't want to make that 255. Actually, what you would have to do, you can actually leave the red. You don't even need a red one, to be honest, but it might be easier just to do this, because if you're going to make that one red, it already is 255. But I'll leave that the way it is, and then I'll make one that says set green, and I'll put that down to 0, and then this one will be set blue, and I'll set that down to 0 as well. And now we should have red at 255, green at 0, blue at 0. Now if I run it, I got the right pixel. So that's pretty easy. So all you have to do is copy this like 4 times. I'll do it another time just to make sure I get the next pixel. I'll put space in between, and you can drag this down, or you could scroll if you need to see more. Now we're talking about this pixel, which would be, really it's just going to change the X because it's 1 over. So the X is the first one. So that would be 5, 4, and we're going to call it upper right. And I'll change all these to upper right because they all refer to one particular pixel. And our next one, I think from our assignment, the next one's going to be yellow. So when we go back here to be yellow, that means that the green and red are going to be 255 because they combine when they're all on and the blue's off. That makes a yellow, or it should. So let's try it. And that works. And let's do, now you could even copy these 2 of them and paste them. And just make sure that you have a lower left, or lower right, I guess. If you're going to go, you know, kind of clockwise, you'd get kind of a lower right. And now for the lower right, which is going to be blue, the blue would be 255, and the others would be 0. And you just make sure that this lower right is 1 down, so it'd actually be at, I think 5, 5. Yeah, that's right. So that would be 5, 5. And then the other one, the only one we're missing is 4, 5. The X across is 4, and then it's down 5, because these are all kind of in the 4, 5 range. So we have one more here, and the last one that we have is going to be 4, 5. And we'll just call this lower left. And then to make that gray, we could do something like make them all 200, because that would make kind of a lighter gray color. And I'll run it. And that's what it should look like. So that's not that hard. We just have 4 blocks of type here. Just remember that we have 4 different variables. We have pixUL, pixUR, pixLR, and pixLL, and we use an underscore because we don't want to have a space in there for a variable. And then we have 4 different coordinates of pixels that we're choosing. 4, 4, 5, 4, 5, 5, and then 4, 5. And then to change the pixels, since these are all white, we have to make sure that we make some of them dark. If we wanted a red, we have to make the green and blue black. We have to make them 0, 0. We didn't have to do it on the first sample, but we have to do it when they're in the white. And then we just kind of mix up those colors. We mix up a yellow color with both red and green at 255. We have a blue at 255 and the others at 0. And then when we make them all the same, if it's a high number, it'll be a light gray. If it's a low number, it would be a very dark gray. If they were 0s, they would all be black, or if we did something like 10 or 20, they'd all be very, very, very dark gray. So that's all you have to do. Now when you're done, you can just copy all this, or you could put your cursor in here and do Control A if you're on Windows. If you're on Mac, Command A, and then Control C to copy it, and then copy that code, and then go into here and then add a comment. You could just go in here and add a comment, and then all you have to do is just click in here, paste your code, and save it. And that's it. and you're done. And I'll see that you did it, and I could just look at the code. I don't have to copy it and put it in the this image thing. So that's just a little exercise we did in class, but in case you missed that, that's all that you have to do to make those pixels look like that sample that we just saw. I guess that's down here. That's what it's going to make it look like when it's done. So hopefully that's what it looked like. We'll be doing more code as the semester goes on. That's a little bit of JavaScript kind of stuff, but just to kind of review some of the things we've been doing with RGB colors, so you know that 255 are lighter colors and down to 0 are darker colors, and eventually we'll be getting into variables and things like that. So that's EX5B.